I slid the prenup across the polished conference table and tapped Section 7 with my index finger. Natalie's lawyer stopped breathing. Just stopped, like someone hit pause on his entire existence. Natalie leaned forward, squinting at the words she never bothered to read 18 months ago, and I watched her face do something between confusion and panic. Arthur sat beside me, hands folded, the hint of a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. He loved moments like this. Lawyers always do when the trap springs perfectly. Section 7, I said quietly. Individual windfalls remain separate property. You wrote it. I signed it. Your father insisted on it. Her lawyer's pen slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the table. That sound, that tiny plastic click, was the sound of $6 million staying exactly where it belonged. With me. But let me back up. Let me show you how a smart woman can make foolish choices, how a quiet man can be underestimated, and how a piece of paper can become powerful once you finally learn to read it. Before we continue this chaotic cheating drama, take a second to subscribe, like, comment, and hit the hype button. It really helps this channel grow. The leather folder appeared on my kitchen counter the morning after I proposed. Natalie set it down between the coffee maker and a bowl of oranges, casual as a magazine. She was wearing my old college shirt and nothing else, hair still messy from sleep, looking like every man's dream of domestic bliss. That was her gift. She could make anything look effortless. "What's this?" I asked, though I already knew. You don't get engaged to a woman whose father owns half the town without expecting paperwork. "Just a prenup," she said, pouring herself coffee. "Daddy insisted. You know how he is about protecting the family assets." Family assets. That was the phrase Gerald Summers used for everything he touched. The restaurants, the hotel complex, the commercial properties scattered across 3 counties. He talked about money the way some men talk about their children, with pride, possessiveness, and the unshakable belief that it defined him. I picked up the folder. Heavy stock paper, embossed law firm logo, the kind of presentation that cost more than the content deserved. Inside, 47 pages of dense legal text that basically said one thing: Natalie's inevitable fortune was hers, and whatever I brought to the marriage was negotiable. "Inevitable fortune?" I said, reading one of the opening clauses out loud. She laughed, that bright sound that made me fall for her in the first place. "Daddy's words, not mine. He thinks he's building a dynasty. I think he watches too much television." I should have read every page. I should have taken it to a lawyer, asked questions, found the traps. But I was 29 years old, in love, and terrified of looking like the kind of guy who marries for money. So I flipped to the signature page, scrawled my name, and handed it back. "That was fast," she said. "I trust you," I told her. She kissed me then, tasting like coffee and promises, and I thought I was being mature, evolved, the kind of man who doesn't sweat the small stuff. I was in fool. We got married on a Saturday in June. Big wedding, 200 guests, Gerald playing the benevolent patriarch in a custom suit that probably cost more than my car. He shook my hand at the reception with the grip of a man testing your worthiness and said, "Take care of my little girl, Liam. She's all I've got." It sounded paternal, loving. It wasn't until much later that I understood it was a warning. For the first year, everything was fine. Better than fine. We had a small house, steady jobs, the kind of comfortable middle-class life that feels like success when you're 30. I worked at a tech company downtown, decent salary, decent benefits, the occasional frustrating meeting about synergy and core competencies. At night, I tinkered with a side project, just a small thing, a service platform that helped small businesses manage their online presence without needing a full IT department. Natalie worked in marketing at one of her father's hotel properties. She was good at it too. Good at making things look better than they were, at spinning ordinary into aspirational. I used to watch her write copy and marvel at how she could make a continental breakfast sound like a luxury experience. Then, 18 months into the marriage, My side project caught fire. It started with one client recommending me to another. Then a local business magazine wrote a small feature. Then a venture capital firm in the city called and asked if I'd consider selling a stake. The meetings blurred together, term sheets and valuations and conversations about scaling up. When the dust settled, I owned 40% of something worth just over $6 million. $6 million. I came home that Thursday night with a bottle of champagne and the signed agreement in my briefcase. Natalie was in the living room, scrolling through her phone, barely looking up when I walked in. "We need to celebrate," I said, holding up the bottle. She glanced at me. "What happened?" "The deal closed. The platform sold for $15 million. My stake is worth $6. I expected excitement, maybe shock. What I got was a slow, calculating smile that should have set off every alarm I owned. $6 million, she repeated. "Our $6 million. Well, technically mine, but yeah, we can. Our money, Liam. We're married. That's how this works." There was something in her voice, a edge I'd never heard before, not quite aggressive, but not soft either. It was the voice of someone who just realized they held better cards than they thought. "Of course," I said, popping the cork. "I just meant legally it's structured as—" "I don't care about structure. We're a team. What's yours is ours." I poured 2 glasses and told myself I was being paranoid. This was my wife, the woman I loved. Of course she'd be excited about our future, our shared future. But over the next few weeks, I started noticing things. She talked about the money constantly, not in a dreamy, "isn't this wonderful" way, but in a specific, itemized way. A bigger house, a new car, a boat, maybe, or a vacation property. She showed me real estate listings over breakfast, jewelry ads over dinner. Everything was suddenly attainable, and she wanted to attain it immediately. "We should be smart about this," I said one night when she suggested buying a place in the mountains. "Taxes, investments, long-term planning. You sound like my father. Your father is smart with money. My father is paranoid with money. There's a difference." I let it drop, but the conversations kept coming. She wanted access to the accounts. She wanted to be on the investment decisions. She wanted, in her words, to be part of this, not just a passenger. I should have seen it then. The shift, the way she looked at me differently, like I'd suddenly become more valuable. But I was busy with the company transition, with lawyers and accountants and the 1,000 details of sudden wealth, and I convinced myself I was imagining things. Then came the girls' cruise. She announced it on a Tuesday morning, already packed, already decided. 5 days in the Caribbean with Bianca and 2 other friends. An all-girls trip, no husbands allowed, just sun and cocktails and bonding. "I didn't know you were planning this," I said. "It's been in the works for weeks. I told you about it." She hadn't. I would have remembered. But arguing felt petty, so I drove her to the airport and kissed her goodbye and told her to have fun. Maya called me that night. Maya Reed, my oldest friend, the one person who never pretended to like Natalie's brand of performance art. "She's on a cruise?" Maya said. "Girls' trip." "Liam, do you know what happens on girls' cruises? They drink fruity cocktails and complain about their husbands. They hook up with crew members and come home with stories they'll never tell you. That's cynical even for you. It's realistic. I'm just saying, keep your eyes open." I laughed it off. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Natalie's face when I told her about the $6 million. That calculating smile. The way she'd started talking about our money with such conviction. I picked up my phone and scrolled through her social media. She'd posted a photo from the ship. Sunset, cocktail in hand, caption about living her best life. Nothing suspicious, just a woman on vacation. Then I saw it. In the background, reflected in a glass door, a man in a cruise officer's uniform standing close behind her. Too close. The kind of close that isn't accidental. I zoomed in. The reflection was blurry, but the posture was clear, intimate, familiar. "That's not a bartender," I said out loud to my empty bedroom. I told myself I was paranoid, jealous, insecure, all the things no man wants to be. But the image stuck in my head like a splinter, and when Natalie came home 5 days later, glowing and energized and weirdly affectionate, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. Then, 3 days after she got back, she told me she was pregnant. She did it over breakfast, casual as commenting on the weather. "I'm late. I took a test this morning. We're going to have a baby." I should have been happy. We'd talked about kids vaguely, in the abstract way young couples do. But as I sat there staring at her smile, my brain started doing math. We hadn't been together the week before the cruise. I'd been traveling for work. And the week she was gone was obviously out, which meant the baby would have been conceived at least 3 weeks before the cruise, probably 4. But she was acting like this was news, fresh news, exciting news. "How far along?" I asked. "I don't know. A few weeks? I have a doctor's appointment next Tuesday." The math didn't work. If she was just finding out now, a week after the cruise, the timing was all wrong, unless she'd known before she left. Or unless I pushed the thought away, stood up, kissed her forehead, told her I was thrilled. But I wasn't. I was confused. And confusion, I was learning, was just fear doing reconnaissance. Over the next week, I paid attention. Really paid attention. To the way she touched her phone protectively. To the way she disappeared into the bathroom for long calls she claimed were about baby appointments. To the way Bianca, her loud, gossipy friend, suddenly got quiet whenever I walked into a room. I was at Maya's apartment when I finally said it out loud. "I think Natalie cheated on me." Maya set down her coffee. "What makes you think that?" "The timeline doesn't add up. The pregnancy, the cruise, the way she's acting. It's all wrong. So what are you going to do?" "I don't know. I can't just accuse her without proof." "Then get proof." "How?" Maya looked at me like I was being deliberately dense. "You're a tech guy, Liam. You know how to find information. Start digging." I started with social media. Bianca's feed was a goldmine of oversharing. I scrolled back to the cruise dates and found dozens of photos. Natalie in a bikini, Natalie with a drink, Natalie laughing with the group, and in one photo, tagged but barely visible, a name, Adrian Holt. I clicked through to his profile, cruise ship captain, 35, based out of Miami. And in his cover photo, standing on a ship's bridge, I recognized the uniform from the reflection. I went deeper. Old college photos. Natalie was in some of them. They'd dated, briefly, according to the comments, but long enough to leave a trail. Adrian Holt, Captain Adrian Holt. Her ex-boyfriend who just happened to be running the cruise ship where she spent 5 unsupervised days. I sat back from my laptop and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not rage, not heartbreak. Something worse. Clarity. That night, Natalie's phone lit up on the nightstand while she was in the shower. I picked it up, hands shaking, and saw the message preview. "You sure he still thinks the baby is his?" The sender, Adrian Holt. I put the phone back carefully, exactly where it had been, and walked to the bathroom. Natalie was singing something off-key, happy, oblivious. I looked at my reflection in the fogged mirror and barely recognized myself. "I'm done defending myself," I whispered. "Now I'm writing the script." The next morning, I called Arthur Klein. Arthur was the lawyer who'd notarized our prenup, a dry, meticulous man in his mid-40s who treated every legal document like a sacred text. His office smelled like old books and furniture polish, and he greeted me with the same neutral expression he probably used for every client. "I need to review my prenuptial agreement," I said. He pulled the file without comment, spread the pages across his desk, and started reading. I watched his eyes move across the text, waiting for him to get to the part I'd finally bothered to understand. Section 7. He stopped, read it again, then looked up at me with something that might have been respect. "Did you write this?" Her father's lawyers wrote it. And you signed it? Without reading it carefully. Arthur smiled, actually smiled. Mr. Hartley, do you understand what this clause means? I think so, but I want to hear you say it. He tapped the page. Section 7 states that any individual windfall, defined as sudden financial gain from business ventures, inheritance, or similar, remains the separate property of the spouse who receives it. It cannot be claimed as marital property, regardless of when it was acquired during the marriage. So the $6 million is yours, entirely yours. She has no legal claim to it. I sat back. They wrote this to protect her inheritance. Correct. They assumed her father's estate would be the windfall in question. They never imagined you'd be the one to benefit. Ironic. Poetic, Arthur corrected. This is the most ironclad financial protection I've seen in a prenup. She can't touch your money, Mr. Hartley. Not $1. I thought about Natalie's face when she said, "our money," with such certainty. About her father's condescending handshake at the wedding. About 18 months of being treated like the acceptable, forgettable husband who would eventually fold into the family fortune. I need you to prepare something, I said. A formal declaration citing Section 7. I want it ready for when she makes her next move. You're expecting conflict? I'm expecting war. Arthur's smile widened just slightly. Then let's make sure you win it. I left his office with the prenup in my briefcase and a plan forming in my head. But first, I needed proof. Not suspicions, not text messages I'd seen once on a locked phone. Real, undeniable proof. I called Maya. I need your help, I said. Finally, what are we doing? Finding out if that baby is mine. There was a pause. Then, are you sure you want to know? I already know. I just need to prove it. We met at a coffee shop downtown, away from anywhere Natalie might go. Maya had her laptop open, a notebook covered in her tight, efficient handwriting. Paternity test, she said, without preamble. Non-invasive prenatal. They can do it after 8 weeks. A sample from her, a sample from you, results in a week. She'll never agree to it. Then we do it after the baby is born. You have parental rights to request one. That's months away. Do you have another option? I didn't, but I had something else. Adrian Holt. Can you find out more about him? Maya's fingers flew across her keyboard. Captain of the Sunset Majesty Cruise Line, based in Miami. Before that, various ships in the Caribbean. Before that, she scrolled. College at Florida State, which is where Natalie went. They dated. How do you know? Social media archaeology, and a text message I saw. Maya's eyes narrowed. What did it say? I told her. She whistled low. Okay. So we know he's the likely father. We know they have history. What else do we need? Financial information. Anything that gives me leverage. Leverage for what? For when this all comes out, I want to hit him where it hurts. Maya studied me for a long moment. You're different. I'm awake. No. You're angry. I've never seen you angry. Good, I said. Maybe people will finally stop assuming I'm harmless. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the perfect husband. Supportive, excited, asking about baby names and nursery colors. Natalie ate it up, her performance getting stronger as my attention validated it. She posted ultrasound photos, started a pregnancy journal, told everyone who would listen about our expanding family. I smiled and nodded and collected evidence. Maya found Adrian's financial records. Not by hacking, nothing illegal, just public records and a few well-placed questions to people in the cruise industry. Turned out Captain Holt had a gambling problem. Debts in 3 states, a pattern of moving between ships right before creditors caught up with him. He's broke, Maya said, showing me the printouts. Worse than broke, he's running. From who? Loan sharks in Miami? Bookies in New Orleans? He owes at least $200,000 that I can verify. So he sees Natalie as a meal ticket, sees her father as a meal ticket, Gerald Summers, local kingmaker with deep pockets. Adrian probably thinks if he gets Natalie pregnant, he'll get access to the family money. I almost laughed. They're all so confident about money that doesn't exist. What do you mean? Gerald's fortune isn't as solid as he pretends. I've been doing my own research. I showed her what I'd found. Property records with questionable valuations, tax filings that didn't match public statements, permits approved under suspicious circumstances. Nothing definitively illegal, but enough to suggest Gerald's empire was built on favors, connections, and aggressive accounting. If someone looked hard enough, I said, they'd find problems. Are you planning to make someone look? I'm planning to be ready when they do. Natalie's demands started the next week, subtle at first, then increasingly aggressive. She wanted a new house, something bigger, befitting a growing family. She'd already picked it out, sent me the listing, started talking to a realtor. It's $2 million, I said, staring at the photos of a ridiculous mansion with more bathrooms than we had furniture. We can afford it. I can't tie up that much capital right now. The business transition. The business is fine, you're just being cheap. I'm being smart. You're being selfish. Her voice had an edge now, the pretty mask slipping. This isn't just about you anymore, Liam. We have a family to think about. A family. Right. The family she'd created with someone else and was trying to pass off as mine. I'll think about it, I said. She didn't like that answer. 2 days later, she brought it up again, this time with her father sitting in our living room, drink in hand, playing mediator. Liam, Gerald said in his smooth, patriarch voice, Natalie tells me you're being difficult about the house. I'm being cautious. Caution is for people who don't have options. You have $6 million. You have options. That money is tied up in... Then untie it. He leaned forward. Look, son, I like you, but my daughter is about to give you a child. She deserves to feel secure. A house isn't asking too much. There it was. The gentle pressure backed by the unspoken threat. Gerald Summers didn't ask. He suggested, and people complied, or they found themselves on the wrong side of every permit approval, every zoning decision, every little mechanism of power he controlled. I need to talk to my financial advisor, I said. Gerald's smile thinned. You do that. But don't take too long. Natalie's patience isn't infinite. After he left, Natalie turned on me. You embarrassed me. I answered honestly. You made me look like a gold digger in front of my father. Did I? She stopped, stared at me. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I'm just tired. I'll talk to the advisor. But instead of a financial advisor, I called Arthur. They're pushing, I said. Let them push. Section 7 is clear. What if they contest it? On what grounds? You both signed. It was properly witnessed and notarized. Unless you signed under duress or incompetence, it's binding. I signed because I loved her. That's not duress. That's just poor judgment. He said it without cruelty, just stating a fact. Do you want my advice, Mr. Hartley? That's why I called. Make them come to you. When they demand the money, cite the prenup. Force them to either accept it or challenge it in court. Either way, you control the battlefield. I hung up and looked at the calendar. Natalie was almost 12 weeks pregnant. Soon, there would be more ultrasounds, more doctor's appointments, more opportunities to establish paternity. I just had to wait. The breaking point came on a Thursday night. Natalie walked in with shopping bags, receipts spilling out. The kind of spending that used to make her anxious, but now seemed to give her a thrill. Did you buy out the whole store? I asked. Just a few things for the nursery. A few things that cost what? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. She dropped the bags and crossed her arms. Here we go. The lecture about our money. My money, Natalie. The room went silent. She stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. Excuse me? The $6 million. It's my money. From my business. Before I made a single dollar from it, you insisted on a prenup that protected your inheritance. That same prenup protects my windfall." Her face went through several expressions: confusion, disbelief, anger, then something harder, colder. "You're seriously going to play that card?" "I'm not playing anything. I'm stating a fact. We're married, and we have a prenup. I'm pregnant with your child." I looked at her for a long moment. "Are you?" She went pale, actual pale, the color draining so fast I thought she might pass out. "What did you just say?" "I said, are you? Pregnant with my child?" "How dare you? The math doesn't work, Natalie. The timing is off. I've been counting." "You've been counting?" She laughed, but it sounded wrong, panicked. "You think you know my cycle better than I do? I think you got pregnant on that cruise. I think you came home and lied. And I think you're trying to cash in on money you have no legal right to." She grabbed her purse, hands shaking. "I'm calling my father." "Go ahead. Have him read Section 7 while you're at it." She left. The door slammed so hard a picture fell off the wall. I picked it up, looked at our wedding photo, and set it face down on the shelf. Arthur was right. I controlled the battlefield now. Gerald called the next morning, voice tight with controlled fury. "We need to meet. I'm available this afternoon. My office, 3 o'clock. Don't be late." I arrived at 10 minutes before 3 and waited in his reception area like a supplicant. The walls were covered with photos of Gerald shaking hands with mayors, governors, business leaders, a shrine to influence. His secretary finally ushered me in. Gerald sat behind a massive desk, Natalie in a chair beside him, her eyes red but her jaw set. "Sit," Gerald said. I sat. "Let's talk about this prenup situation." "I'm happy to." "Natalie tells me you're hiding behind a technicality." "I'm following the contract your lawyers wrote." His eyes narrowed. "Don't be cute, Liam, you know what I mean. The money you made during the marriage is protected under Section 7. Individual windfalls remain separate property. Your lawyers were very clear about that. That clause was meant to protect Natalie's inheritance. It protects any windfall. It doesn't specify whose." Gerald leaned back, reassessing me. I could see him recalculating, trying to find the angle that would make me fold. "You're making a mistake," he said quietly. "I'm protecting my interests. I own this town, son. Businesses that depend on my goodwill. Officials who owe me favors. You don't want to be on my bad side." "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact." I stood up. "Then I guess we'll see what facts matter more, the ones in your head or the ones in that prenup." I walked out before he could respond. My hands were shaking, adrenaline flooding my system, but I kept my pace steady until I reached my car. Maya called 20 minutes later. "What did you do? How did you—" "Bianca just posted something cryptic about family loyalty and legal battles. What happened?" I told her. She whistled. "You just declared war on Gerald Summers. He declared war first. I just stopped pretending we were at peace." "Okay, so what's next?" "We go after him. Liam, if he wants to play power games, let's see how much power he actually has." Maya was quiet for a moment. Then, "I'll start digging." The retaliation came 3 days later. A building inspector showed up at my office, citing an anonymous complaint about fire code violations and occupancy limits. I knew immediately it was Gerald's doing. The inspector was apologetic but thorough, going through every room with a clipboard and a measuring tape. "Everything looks fine," he said finally. "I'll file my report. You're clear." "Can I ask who filed the complaint?" "Anonymous tip line. I don't have a name." But I didn't need a name. I knew. That night, I met Maya at her apartment. She had her laptop open, screen filled with spreadsheets and public records. "Gerald's businesses," she said. "I've been going through everything I can find: property assessments, tax filings, permit applications, and there are discrepancies, lots of them. Properties valued way below market rate for tax purposes. Permits approved in days when they should take months. Revenue reports that don't match credit card processing statements I found through public business filings. Is it illegal? It's suspicious, enough to trigger an audit if someone wanted to look. Can we make someone want to look? Maya smiled. I know a reporter at the county paper. She's been trying to break into investigative journalism. This could be her story. Do it, but keep my name out of it. Obviously. I left Maya's place and drove home, my mind already 3 moves ahead. Gerald thought he could pressure me with building inspectors and quiet threats. But pressure worked both ways, and I was done being the one who backed down. The first story ran a week later. Nothing explosive, just a small piece on the county blog questioning property valuation discrepancies in some of Gerald's commercial holdings. Most people probably scrolled past it, but I knew Gerald would see it, and I knew he'd know where it came from. He called that afternoon. You think you're clever? I think I'm careful. This isn't over. I know. He hung up. I sat in my office and waited for his next move. It came 2 days later, but not from Gerald. From Natalie. She showed up at my office, unannounced, moving past my assistant with the confidence of someone who still thought she had power here. We need to talk, she said. Then talk. She sat down across from my desk, hands folded over her stomach, in a gesture that was probably meant to remind me of the pregnancy. This has gone too far. I agree. So, let's stop it. Let's be adults. I am being an adult. I'm protecting my assets. Your assets? She laughed, bitter. You sound like my father. Your father tried to intimidate me with a building inspector. She blinked. What? You didn't know? He sent someone to harass my business, anonymous complaint, fire codes. He wouldn't. He did. So now we're here. You lied about the pregnancy. He tried to bully me, and I'm done pretending any of this is salvageable. Her face crumpled. Real tears this time, not the performative kind. I made a mistake. One mistake, or several. It was Adrian, on the cruise. It just happened. Things don't just happen, Natalie. People make choices. I know. I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you sorry you got caught? She wiped her eyes. What do you want? I'll do anything. I want the truth. When did you know you were pregnant? She hesitated. Before the cruise. And you went anyway? I don't know what I thought. You thought you could pass it off as mine and keep access to the money. She didn't deny it, just sat there, crying, her whole carefully constructed life collapsing around her. Get out, I said quietly. Liam, get out of my office. Get a lawyer. And tell your father that if he comes after me again, I'll make sure every newspaper in the state knows about his tax games. She left. The door closed softly behind her, and I sat alone in the silence, feeling nothing. Not victory, not satisfaction, just a cold, clear certainty that I was finally doing what I should have done 18 months ago, reading the situation like I'd been taught to read contracts. Maya called that evening with news. The county auditor's office opened an investigation into Gerald's properties. That was fast. The reporter did good work, and apparently Gerald isn't as loved as he thinks. A lot of people were happy to talk once someone started asking questions. What happens now? They'll review his tax filings. Could take months, could take longer. But Liam? Yeah? Some of his assets are being frozen pending the investigation. He can't sell or transfer them until it's resolved. I closed my eyes and felt something like relief. Natalie's inheritance. Gone. Or at least locked up for a long time. So she loses everything. Pretty much. Good, I said, and meant it. The story broke wider the next week. Local media picked it up. Business associates started distancing themselves. Gerald's empire, built on handshakes and backroom deals, started showing cracks. And I turned my attention to Adrian Holt. Finding Adrian was easy. He was still captaining the Sunset Majesty, still running from creditors, still thinking he could charm his way out of consequences. I called the cruise line's corporate office and asked to speak to HR. "I have some concerns about one of your captains," I said. The woman on the phone sounded tired. "What kind of concerns?" "Fraternization with passengers, specifically my wife." There was a pause. "Can you provide documentation?" "Photos, dates, witness statements, all of it." "Send it to our compliance email. We'll investigate." I sent everything. Photos from the cruise that Bianca had helpfully posted, timestamps, a carefully worded statement explaining the situation without accusing anyone of crimes. 3 days later, Adrian was suspended pending review. Maya found his number and called me, grinning. "Want to talk to him?" "Not yet. Let him sweat." But Adrian didn't sweat quietly. He called Natalie, who called me, panicked. "He's threatening to tell everyone everything if you don't back off." "Tell everyone what? The truth? Go ahead." "Liam, please. This is destroying both of us." "You destroyed yourselves. I just documented it." She hung up, crying. I felt nothing. 2 weeks later, Arthur called with an update. "The prenup is holding. Her lawyers tried to challenge it, but they don't have grounds. Section 7 is clear." "So it's over? Financially?" "Yes. You keep everything. She gets nothing from the windfall." "What about the pregnancy?" "That's different. If you're listed as the father on the birth certificate, you'll need a paternity test to challenge it. But based on what you've told me, you'll win that too." "When?" "After the baby is born. Then we file for custody and support modifications." "I don't want custody. I want the truth established." "Then that's what we'll do." I thanked him and hung up, feeling the weight of months of planning finally settling into results. But I wasn't done yet. I wanted them all in one room. Natalie, Adrian, Gerald. I wanted them to see each other, to understand exactly how completely they'd lost. And I knew just how to make it happen. Gerald's hotel was hosting a charity gala the next month. Big event, town leaders, business owners, the kind of evening where Gerald could pretend his empire wasn't crumbling. I bought a ticket. So did Maya. And I made sure Adrian got an invitation too, through a mutual contact. "What are you planning?" Maya asked. "A presentation." "Liam." "Trust me." The night of the gala, I arrived early. The ballroom was decorated in gold and white, tables arranged around a small stage where Gerald would give his usual speech about community and responsibility. I found the AV tech and slipped him $200. "I need to add a short presentation to tonight's program. Just a few slides. Can you cue it up after Mr. Summers' speech?" He looked at the cash, then at me. "What's on the slides?" "Photos, documents, nothing illegal." He pocketed the money. "You got a USB?" I handed it over. He plugged it in, checked the file, and nodded. "It'll run right after his speech. 5 minutes max." "Perfect." I found Maya near the bar. She looked nervous. "Is this smart?" she asked. "Probably not, but it's necessary." "What if it backfires?" "Then I'll deal with it. But Natalie gets the first blow, then Gerald, then Adrian." "You sound like you're planning a battle." "I am. The final one." Natalie arrived with her father, wearing a dress that showed her pregnancy, playing the glowing, expectant mother for everyone who would look. She saw me and froze. I raised my glass in a mock toast. She turned away. Gerald took the stage at 8, launching into his prepared speech about family, legacy, and the importance of supporting local businesses. People applauded politely. I watched Natalie in the front row, watched her try to smile while her world crumbled in slow motion. Then Gerald finished, and the AV tech hit play on my presentation. The screen behind Gerald lit up with a photo from the cruise. Natalie and Adrian on the deck, his arm around her waist, both of them laughing. The crowd went silent. "What is this?" Gerald said, turning to look. The next slide was a timeline. Dates of the cruise, dates of Natalie's pregnancy announcement. Simple math showing the impossibility of me being the father. Gasps rippled through the room. Natalie stood up, face white, mouth open. The third slide was the DNA test result. Clinical, clear, 0% probability of paternity. "Turn it off!" Natalie screamed, but the presentation kept rolling. Photos of Gerald's frozen assets, headlines about the investigation, a copy of Section 7 from the prenup, highlighted. "My fiancée made me sign an ironclad prenup to protect her inevitable fortune," I said from my table, voice carrying across the silent room. "I signed fast. 18 months later, my small project hit $6 million. When she demanded a share, I pointed to Section 7. Individual windfalls remain separate property. Her lawyer froze as my revenge finally landed." Gerald stepped off the stage, moving toward me. "You little—" "I followed your rules," I said calmly. "Every single one. The prenup was your idea. Section 7 was your protection. I just learned to read it better than you did." Natalie was crying now, mascara running, the perfect image destroyed. People were filming on their phones, whispering, the gossip spreading faster than I could track it. Then Adrian walked in. He'd been waiting outside, probably working up courage. He saw the screen, saw the photos, saw Natalie crying and Gerald furious, and something in his face shifted. "This is your fault," he said, pointing at me. "My fault? I'm not the one who got someone else's wife pregnant." He started across the room. People backed away, creating a path. Maya grabbed my arm. "Liam, it's fine." Adrian reached me, fists clenched. "You ruined her life. She ruined her own life. You just helped." He swung, clumsy, telegraphed, the punch of someone who'd never really fought. I stepped aside, letting his momentum carry him past me. He stumbled, crashed into a table, sent champagne glasses flying. Security moved in, but Adrian was already getting up, wild-eyed and desperate. "You think you won?" he shouted. "You think any of this matters? I think you're broke, suspended from your job, and the father of a child you can't afford. So yeah, I won." He lunged again, but this time security caught him, 2 men in black suits pulling him back. He thrashed, shouting obscenities, while the crowd watched in stunned silence. Gerald grabbed my shoulder, spinning me around. "This isn't over." "Yes," I said quietly. "It is. Your assets are frozen, your daughter's a liar, and your attempt to intimidate me backfired. You're done, Gerald. You just haven't accepted it yet." I pulled away from him and walked toward the exit. Maya followed, heels clicking on marble. Behind us, the gala dissolved into chaos. Natalie sobbing, Adrian being escorted out, Gerald standing alone on stage, his empire collapsing in real time while 300 people watched and recorded. I pushed through the doors into the cool night air and stopped on the steps. Maya stood beside me, breathing hard. "You actually did it," she said. "I told you I would. I mean, really did it. Destroyed all of them at once." I looked back through the glass doors at the wreckage inside. Natalie was surrounded by people, some trying to comfort her, others clearly asking questions. Gerald was arguing with someone official-looking. Adrian was gone, dragged out by security. "They destroyed themselves," I said. "I just made sure everyone saw it." Maya laughed, slightly hysterical. "You're terrifying when you're angry." "I'm not angry. I'm just done being the one who loses." We walked to the parking lot. Behind us, sirens approached. Someone had called the police about the disturbance. I didn't care. I had nothing to hide, no crimes committed, just truth, presented at exactly the right moment. My phone buzzed. Arthur. "I'm watching the live stream. Half the town is watching the live stream. Did you plan this?" "Every second. It's brutal. It's fair. Fair and brutal aren't mutually exclusive." He paused. "The prenup will hold. After tonight, no judge would side with her." "Good. What happens now?" I looked up at the stars, clear and cold above the chaos. "Now I move on." I hung up and got in my car. Maya climbed in the passenger side. "Where are we going?" "Away from here." "For good?" "Maybe. I haven't decided yet." She buckled her seatbelt. "You won, Liam. You beat all of them." "I know. So why don't you look happy?" I started the engine. Because winning wasn't about being happy. It was about not being their victim anymore. We drove in silence through streets I'd known my whole life, past businesses that bore Gerald's influence, past the hotel where I'd just detonated 3 lives in under 10 minutes. I felt calm, clear, free in a way I hadn't felt since the day I signed that prenup without reading it. Section 7. The clause that saved me. The leverage I'd been carrying without knowing it. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic, it's just reading the fine print better than the people who thought they were smarter than you. I pulled onto the highway, leaving the town and its gossip and its burning wreckage behind. In the rearview mirror, I could still see the lights of the hotel, bright and oblivious. I didn't look back.